For months, I kept seeing videos from other creators digitizing their wardrobe, and I kept thinking, oh, well, that would be really, really useful because I have a lot of clothes and I always feel like I'm wearing the same 10 items over and over again. But I just never felt like I had the time. So when I moved flats in April, it finally gave me the push to digitize my entire wardrobe. And it has now been 4 months since I've done that. I've been tracking consistently every day, and it has completely changed my life. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you how you can digitize your wardrobe quickly, how to track even if you're not a consistent girly like me, and finally, if you love stats like I do, I want to show you the newest version of wardrobe stats that you can get from this app that is going to teach you so much about your wardrobe and your shopping habits so you can improve them. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, keep on watching. I completely understand that digitizing your entire wardrobe can seem like a lot of work, especially if you have a lot of clothes like I do. So why should you even bother with that? I feel like I really benefited from it because I didn't actually have an accurate perspective of what I truly wore on a day-to-day basis. I thought that I knew, but when I started tracking, it was actually completely inaccurate. And so if you feel like you're wearing the same items over and over again and you never really have anything to wear, if you feel like you're really bored and running out of ideas, and you don't really know what your personal style actually is, tracking your wardrobe with an app can really, really simplify that process. Because it is going to show you your most worn and least worn items. It can help you to see which outfits you actually liked a lot and figure out your personal style through that. And I also feel that it can just make you help better shopping decisions because you can see the cost per wear on certain items, how many items you have, and so you can avoid buying duplicates, and so much more than you can do when you have that data. And so if you're someone that enjoys that more objective perspective and the data-driven approach, I think that you're really going to enjoy digitizing your wardrobe. So how can you actually do that in the most efficient way? I think that the app called Indyx is the best app out there. And I tried it for the last couple of months, and I can tell you that I've been so much more consistent compared to any of the previous apps like Open Wardrobe and Stylebook that I have tried. So depending on what you find easier, you might prefer to have a set day when you digitize every single thing. But I think that for me personally, that was quite overwhelming, and I decided to do it in a slightly different way. So my first tip would be to actually digitize your current wardrobe. So for example, if you're in the summer, digitize your summer clothes. If you're in the winter, digitize your winter clothes, and so on. And in that way, you're naturally going to have a much smaller selection of clothes to work on in the beginning. I recommend starting with about 20 or 30 items, doing that first, and then maybe doing your shoes, bags, accessories as well. And I think that can really help you to have everything that you need for this current season, and you can start creating outfits from the clothes you have at the moment. So once you've decided what you're going to digitize, Indyx actually recommends you taking flat lay photos. But actually, I don't know about you, but for me, I am not great at taking photos, and so I much prefer stock photography. And so what you can do is you can either Google search the name of your item, or I think the better approach is actually to use Google Lens. It is so good at being able to find items that are either exactly the same or look very, very similar to what you actually have. And so in that way, you can digitize with really nice looking photos. If you do find a photo, you can just screenshot it or download it onto your phone. And then if there is an item that you literally can't find, then it is okay to snap a photo of the item as well. So if you have things like trousers and shorts, definitely try to tuck in the legs so it looks a little bit more like you would wear it in real life. Same thing applies to dresses, kind of try to cinch in the waist. And for any sort of tops, rather than having the sleeves just literally horizontal, try to have them tucked in nicely so it looks similar to how it would look like if you were wearing it in the day. I recommend getting all of your photos done all at once, and then you can sit down with all the clothes by your side so you can now upload it. And uploading is actually super easy because you can take your photo from the camera roll and Indyx will automatically remove the background, which I think is such an amazing feature. And then it literally only asks you for some very, very basic info like the brand, the size, the color, and the item type. And you're basically done. So it takes about 10 seconds. However, I do recommend if you have a moment, just go and try and add a couple more details that are going to help to give you a lot more data. So try and add when you think the item was purchased. And I think as long as you can remember the year, that is already going to give you some information. Try to think about how much it was and whether it was new or secondhand. And if you can only do that, that is, I think, enough. Obviously, for some items, you might not necessarily remember how much it was or how many times you've worn it. but just try to approximate. And for me, a good rule of thumb is maybe 2 to 3 times per calendar year. So if you have something that's 5 years old, you can put anything between 10 and 15 times, and it's probably going to be accurate. And don't worry, you don't have to do this while you're uploading the items. You can always do it after, but I think it just kind of saves a little bit of time if you do it all together. So once you've done that, you should have about 20-30 items of clothing and maybe about 10 to 15 accessories, so you can start creating outfits and track what you actually wear. So now that you have digitized your wardrobe, you might actually be wondering, but how do I stay consistent with it? Especially if you've tried with other apps and fell off the bandwagon, how do you actually stay consistent if you're not naturally that kind of person? And in here, I actually want to give you 3 different ways that you can trick your brain into consistency that have actually worked for me. So the first method is actually to find 2 minutes during the day when you're already using your phone or have it in your hand. And that can be things like going to the bathroom or on your commute, or even when you're in bed. You can literally do that. It takes less than 2 minutes to track what you wore on the day, create the outfit, log it into the calendar, and that is literally it. Indyx will do all the automatic tracking, and so it's going to increase the number of wears on each of the items that you have input, so you don't even have to do that. It does it automatically for you. So if you find that you forget to track it and you're not really consistent with that, that's absolutely fine. Then try the photo method. So that's basically just snapping a selfie of yourself when you pass by a mirror, so you have an overview of what you actually wore. And then maybe on Saturday or Sunday, when you have 10 minutes, you can digitize all outfits of the week before. And in that way, you can still be very consistent. You're just not doing it every single day. And finally, even if that method seems like too much effort or you can't stick with it, then use my pile on the floor method, because I know a lot of us have a floor wardrobe or a chair wardrobe where we put the stuff that we wore during the week. Just leave them there. And again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when you have 10 minutes, then you can go literally through the pile, see what you wore, and then create the outfits in Indyx. It's literally that easy. And another thing that I feel like is super important to mention as someone that is not very consistent, when you see a calendar full of empty squares for the month ahead, of course, you're not going to want to track it and be consistent because it just feels like a lot of work. But I can promise you that once you start filling up those squares, when you get halfway through the month, it actually becomes a lot easier because your brain will naturally want to continue to fill in the squares and add the missing pieces. And so you will naturally get more drawn into doing it consistently. And if you get to the new month and you see again a whole empty calendar, just go back a month and it will remind you that you are progressing. You've already done that, and it has helped me to stay super consistent for the last 4 months. I've tracked every single outfit I've worn. Even if I've not tracked it on every single day, I've used those 3 methods, and I have managed to stay consistent, even though I'm not naturally that kind of person. So now that you've digitized your wardrobe and you know how to track your outfits, what can you actually do with Indyx as well? And by the way, if you want to download the app, there is a link in the description that you can download it on iPhone and Android. It works everywhere. So the first thing I feel like that is really helpful is if you like to be creative and try out new ideas, but you hate the mess that it leaves when you try on a lot of clothes, Indyx is great because it allows you to create a lot of combinations that you might not even expect. And it allows you to pair outfits together without creating any mess on the floor. So in that way, you can create a lot of outfits. You can save money because it's like shopping, but you're shopping from your own wardrobe. And it just helps you to maximize what you already have. The second thing that I have found really helpful is actually to track things like cost per wear and identify what I truly wear on a day-to-day basis. So for example, for each item, you can actually see the cost per wear. And I have found that for some items that were quite expensive, the cost per wear is actually quite low because I've been wearing them over and over again. Versus sometimes something that seems like a great deal because it's only £5 or £10, but I have only worn it once or twice. The cost per wear is not actually that great. And so it's important to start learning a little bit more about what you actually wear and how much it costs you. And it can also help you to refresh your style by incorporating items that you haven't worn that much. So for example, you can go and sort your items by least worn and create outfits with the items that you don't actually wear that much. And it will help you to either incorporate them in your actual day-to-day wear, or you'll have a better time decluttering them because at least you've tried it and you know it doesn't work for you. You can also sort things by the highest cost per wear, and I'm planning on making a separate video on styling those items to try to bring the cost down and again maximize what you already have. Another super useful feature is when you run out of ideas, but you want to wear a specific piece. And for example, let's say you want to start with a skirt and you're like, how do I wear this? So you can go to that item and then in the outfits tab, it will show you all of the outfits that you have created with it. So it's not just stuff that you've worn, but maybe if 2 weeks ago you had some ideas and you've also created outfits with it, you can see all of the outfits in one place. And in that way, you can either wear something that you've already created, or it might give you an idea to maybe swap an item and create something that you still really like. Another thing that I have recently done is I have sorted my outfits by occasion, and I've also given them a rating. And so, for example, when I want to have an outfit for daytime coffee hangout with my friend, and I want the outfit to be 9 or 10 out of 10, I can literally go and sort that, and it will give me ideas if I'm really not inspired and I want something new to wear. And finally, I think the collections features is really, really great because it allows you to create subsections of your wardrobes, like different capsules. So about 3 months ago, I created my first proper capsule, which was a summary one. It had about 45 items in it, and I've been able to create so many outfits. And the purpose of a collection is actually for you to be able to use only those specific items in creating outfits. And in that way, it's actually super helpful as well if you're planning to create a travel capsule for your vacation. You can start by incorporating all the items that you want to bring and then trying to see how many outfits you can create from them. Or on the other hand, you can also start by just putting 7, 8 outfits in a collection, and then it's literally going to give you a shopping list, a packing list of all the items that you need to take if you want to have all of those outfits. So super, super useful. There are 2 other features that I've not personally used much, so I'm not going to share much about them. But the first one is that you can see other people's wardrobes and their items and their outfits. I think that's quite helpful if you want to figure out your style words, if you want to get some ideas how to style certain things. And then the second feature is you can actually get styled by people on the app. There is about 20 or 30 stylists at the moment. You can purchase digital consultations. They can create different outfits for you. I've seen a lot of creators actually use that and have really great results. I may try it in the future, but at the moment, I have no opinion because I've not really tried it out. And now to the fun part for those of you that like statistics. The more that you put in the app, the more you're actually going to get out of it. And I think personally for me, it was really, really worth to input my entire closet, all of my items, jewelry, accessories, all of that stuff, because it really helped me to see how much I've spent on it, what I actually use, and so on. So I want to show you the stats that you have as a normal user and the stats that you're going to have as an Indyx insider or as a beta tester, which I am at the moment. So if you sign up to the app, there should be an option in the App Store to sign up to the beta testing features. And so if you have that, you'll also be able to view the statistics. If not, the membership is going to launch very soon and you should be able to get that view as well. So as a normal user, you can filter items by category. So you can see the total number, for example, of tops that you have, or you can filter by subcategory, for example, shirts. And in that way, again, you can see how many items you have of each subtype. You can also filter things by color or season. And again, you can see which one you have the most of. But what I think is super helpful are the actual sorting features. So you can sort things by the most worn or least worn. And in that case, it is going to take into account anything that you have also input. So for example, you might have a bag that you know you've worn 20 times. And even though you've never logged it in your calendar, you still know that you've worn it 20 times. And so it will show up as one of your most worn items. You can sort items by the highest cost per wear, the lowest cost per wear, which I think is, again, super useful if you want to see some of your items that have been really expensive and some of the items that you might want to lower the cost per wear down by wearing them more. And you can even sort the items by the purchase date. So again, you can see some of the items that you've had for a long time versus some of the newest items. And again, maybe create some combinations between those old and new items for some fresh ideas. So that's what you can do on the free account. Now, I want to show you what you can actually do with the beta testing features, the Indyx Insider, which I think are so much more powerful, so much more detailed, and I personally really enjoyed. So when you open the statistics, you can actually see 3 different tabs: the composition, the usage, and also the investment. The composition one is really interesting because it gives you kind of an overview of what your wardrobe is made out of. So you can see the total number of items that you have in each category and what percentage of that is. And so I was pretty shocked to see that I have nearly 90 tops, which is insane. No one needs 90 tops. And so it's definitely made me kind of reevaluate and make me want to get this number down to quite a bit. I think you can also see the items by color. And for me, that was actually super, super accurate because yes, a lot of my items are black and white. These are the 2 colors I wear the most. I've recently incorporated a lot of blue after finding that my color season is actually a cool winter, not an autumn, which I thought I was before. I have a lot of silver as well, which is the light gray color. and also pink and red, which are some of my favorite colors as well. So it's quite accurate and it's helpful for me to see. Also, colors like orange and brown are not really colors that I wear or have items in anymore. So again, it can be quite helpful to see which colors you actually have or not have. The other feature that I think is also really interesting is seeing that about 2/3 of my wardrobe is actually secondhand and only 1/3 is new. And again, that is helpful if you're trying to shop more sustainably or more mindfully. You can see how many items you have per season. And when you actually sort your items by season, you realize you only have 10% of clothes suitable for the summer. And if your summer is very long and hot, you might need a few extra items. Versus for me, the summer here is about 2 weeks long in the UK. So I don't really need that much. You can also see the longevity, how long items have been in your wardrobe. And I can again help you to see how quickly things turn around. Do you have stuff that you keep for a very long time, or do you buy a lot of new things? And something that I found quite confronting is actually the items added feature. Now, again, for me, I have an explanation to an extent because I had my color season done and I completely changed from warm muted colors to more bright and cool tones. And so I've changed pretty much my entire wardrobe over the past 1 year. But at the same time, still seeing 145 items added in the last year is quite a lot. And so it's definitely made me want to slow down and actually wear what I have. The usage tab is also really useful because you can see how much of your wardrobe you actually wear in different periods of time. So for example, in the last 3 months, how much of your wardrobe have you actually worn and so on. And I think something that's quite useful is, let's say at the end of the season, you can go to the 3 months time and check the most worn items. And so for me, I can see from that summary capsule, what are the items that I've actually worn the most, and also things that I've not worn at all. The next thing I think is super interesting is that you can see how many times on average you wear a certain type of item, like bags and shoes and tops and so on. And so for me, because I have so many tops, the average time of wear is actually 5 times only, which is not a lot. Versus things like bags and shoes, on average, I wear 19 times, which is a lot better. And you can even see it in terms of cost per wear. You can see things like my tops, bottoms, and one pieces actually being very expensive versus things like shoes and bags are actually quite cheap, even though those may be more expensive pieces. You can even see things like colors that you wear the most and kind of what's the number of wear. So for example, for me, things that are silver or black are my most worn items. Again, makes sense with the color season. And even the cost per wear of a piece, you can see that, and that can be very, very helpful. And if you're someone that also buys new and pre-loved items, you can see how many times on average you wear a new item versus a secondhand item, and also what's the cost per wear. And so for me, actually, it was quite interesting to see that I wear my new items on average twice more than my pre-loved items, which was surprising, to be honest. But the cost per wear was still twice higher for the new items. And so it depends what your goal is, whether it's saving money or wearing items and having less items in your wardrobe. So you can kind of make decisions from there on. And you can even see like most least worn outfits, but as someone that doesn't really like to repeat outfits, that's not super useful for me. And finally, the feature that was a little bit like a slap in the face, but still really appreciated it, is the investment tab. And so if you have actually input the price of each of your items, and especially if you buy pre-loved and try to find it online, how much more or less it was, it can show you a comparison of what you've actually spent on your wardrobe and what's the total cost if you were to buy everything new. And so for me, it was basically about 4 times more if I had to purchase everything new. And I don't even have any sort of designer bags or anything like that. This is just by buying mid-range items from Vinted rather than buying them new, and so saving about 80-90% on the cost there. Something that I think is super useful as well is to see your spend by category. And so for me, for example, I can see that I've spent quite a lot of money on tops, bottoms, and one pieces, and a lot less money on things like bags and shoes and accessories. Given that I actually wear those bags and shoes quite a lot, I might be okay investing a bit more in those pieces. It is okay. And I definitely have to slow down the tops because I spent a lot of money, but I don't wear them that much. You can even see the average spend by category. So you can see again, what's the most expensive type of pieces in your wardrobe. And so for me, one pieces like this romper or dresses, actually they are very, very expensive for me. And things like jewelry or accessories are actually a lot cheaper. And finally, a feature that I found super interesting is actually your spend by year and spend by month. And so you can see, for example, for me that I spent not very much in 2018, nothing in 2019 because it was my no-buy year. And then the spend in 2020, 21, 22, it actually doubled every single year. And then basically sort of evened out at about 1,500, £1,600 in the last 3 years. But still, this year, I've already reached my limit in August for what I spent in the entire 2023. And so again, it's really helpful for me to just take a step back and pause and actually wear the items that I have purchased. And similarly, it was very confronting for me to see where my money actually went each month, especially if you're someone that buys a lot of pre-loved items and they're like £5 there and £10 there. You don't actually feel like you're spending a lot of money. But at the same time, if you buy a lot of pieces, it actually adds up to quite a lot. And so it was really scary for me to see that in my birthday month in May, I spent like £711 on items, and that's quite a lot of money. And then obviously not every month is like that. Most of the months is about the £100 mark. But still, given that I do have a lot of items, I can get that spend down to zero from now on for the next couple of months, because I genuinely don't need anything more. So those were all the amazing stats. And again, you can get those if you sign up to be a beta tester or if you purchase the Indyx membership, if you see this video after this beta testing feature is gone. But it is so, so useful. And again, if you're someone that is data-driven, that wants to make better decisions, wants to be a smarter shopper, I absolutely 100% recommend digitizing your wardrobe with Indyx. So again, link is in the description if you want to try it and download it. I hope you found this video interesting, and let me know in the comments below, have you tried digitizing your wardrobe? Has it been helpful for you? And if you have any questions about how I use the app or any videos that you want to see, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.